You ever notice how an abusive man just waits until you're finally starting to pull away? You're getting a little clarity, things are making sense. You're starting to think, hey, he's abusive. And then suddenly he becomes all soft and sad and wounded. And he hits you with something like, I feel like you don't love me. You don't respect me. Or sometimes I feel like you don't even like me. And when women hear those lines, they immediately sink because we were raised to take that seriously, right? You want to fix it. You want to protect somebody else's feelings. But let's be honest, these are tripwires. They're not expressions of vulnerability. He says it because he wants to see exactly how fast you're going to rush in to reassure him. He wants you to prove your loyalty, prove that you love him. He wants to see if he still has emotional power over you. And the second you say, no, I do love you, I care about you, he clocks it. He files that away in his little mind, right? In his mind, that's confirmation that he still owns you. There's also this moment where you feel your body completely betray you, right? Your voice gets softer. You didn't even actively choose that. It just kind of happened. You lean toward him. You try to sound reassuring, even if your head is screaming that something is off. You know that you need to fix this. You need to make things come down with him a bit. That physical shift is exactly what he's looking for. He studies you the same way that a friggin' gambler studies the table. He's mind mapping you. He wants to see if you're still a safe bet, because for men like this, your reaction is the oxygen keeping the relationship alive, right? He doesn't need closeness. What he needs is access. And when he sees that little flicker of fear in your eyes, that is the moment that he knows he still has it. And women don't even realize how often they have been trained to respond like this. You've spent years adapting to somebody else's moods. So even when you're done in your mind, right, your body still reacts like you owe him something, like you need to comfort him. And that's the part that makes so many of us feel ashamed, right? Like, why am I still reassuring him when he's the one hurting me? Well, because your survival strategies are kicking in way before your logic does. And he counts on that. He always has. I'm Lisa Sonni, toxic and abusive relationship expert, certified trauma bond recovery coach. And I'm the woman who's going to say this plainly. If this feels uncomfortably familiar, make sure you subscribe because I teach the real psychology behind these dynamics so you can finally get your power back. Listen, when a healthy man feels unloved or disrespected, he names the behavior, right? Here's an example. You brushed me off earlier. I felt hurt. Can we talk? That's what normal looks like. But an abusive man doesn't name a behavior, right? He attacks your character. You don't love me. You don't respect me. You don't even like me. All these little victim-y accusations. Those kinds of accusations come out when you're thinking about the future, right? Thinking maybe you want to leave, you're questioning things. He senses that shift before you even open your mouth. Women always think that they hide it well. These men don't need you to say it. They feel it. They're hyper-vigilant about losing control, and they depend on your attachment to actually regulate their own ego. And these lines hit every pressure point that women have been conditioned to respond to, right? You grew up being told to be agreeable, to avoid hurting feelings, to smooth things over, to be forgiving, compassionate, whatever. Your nervous system learned early that keeping the peace keeps you safe, even if you didn't realize it. People don't have to use those exact words, but that's what we learn. So when he suggests that you're failing him emotionally, your chest gets all tight and your stomach is in knots, and your instinct is to fix it and fix it fast. That's the fawn response really kicking in. And listen, if you have a history of caretaking, parentification, or emotional neglect, it's going to hit you even harder. You're not just responding as a partner, you're actually responding from old wounds. And the guilt hits fast. You start wondering if he's right. Maybe you have been distant. Maybe your exhaustion looks like indifference, right? Abusive men know exactly how to aim their accusations at your identity as a partner. This is bespoke abuse. They're very targeted. They know what's going to hurt you specifically. They go after things like your sense of being caring or loyal or loving. They never go after your behavior because behavior can be discussed and changed. They go after your character because character attacks put you on the defense. So if they're talking about your behavior, look at what's underneath that. They're really talking about your character. Once you're defending yourself, which is what they want, the whole issue just disappears, right? Now the topic is you defending yourself. Now this is where confusion just pops right in, right? You can feel both truths at the same time. You know something is deeply wrong. You feel it, but you also feel responsible for his hurt feelings. Maybe you can't even figure out why that is, but you just do. You feel anger and guilt in the same moment. That overlap is what keeps women stuck in the cycle for years. You end up working so hard and he stands there doing nothing. He's just making it worse. And here's what he does with your first sort of reassurance, right? He relaxes because to him, your panic and your sort of softness and I do care, that's currency to him. Your emotional reaction tells him he still has you. Now, secondly, he uses it to rewrite the story. She says she loves me, so I'm not the problem. I'm a good guy. She's just emotional. She wouldn't be reassuring me if I was actually hurting her. He protects his identity through your empathy. Do you hear me? You have to focus on this. This is a key thing that abusive men do. His identity matters more to him than the relationship ever has and ever will. This is image management. He needs to be the good guy, right? The misunderstood partner, the victim, the guy who tried everything and just could never make you happy. He builds whole stories in his head about his own effort and all of your shortcomings. He'll tell himself he's patient and loyal and forgiving. He'll talk himself into believing that you are the one who abandoned him. And the wild part, he believes it. Believes it. And it's not because it's true. It's because it keeps him comfortable enough to just continue doing the same damn thing over and over again, right? He's never going to get out of the pattern. So every time you reassure him, you just reinforce his own comfort in this crap. Third, he treats your reassurance as permission, right? He can just stay the same. Permission to avoid accountability, right? He's going to keep the dynamic exactly as it is. Because in his mind, you just confirmed that you're not leaving. That's all he needed was you being like, no, I do love you. That's it. And after, he feels superior. He walks away convinced that he's the one fighting for the relationship. He decides that you're unstable. He feels validated, really, because you just gave him reassurance at the exact moment that he deserved more scrutiny. Women only notice after they get distance that he holds your reassurance like some receipt in his hand, right? And once he's steady again, he flips it. See, you said you love me. You say you respect me, but look how you talk to me. So you admit that I'm not as bad as you make me sound. He uses your own words to trap you later. And he never remembers what you said, right? He remembers your reaction, your softness, your emotional labor. Oh, he's going to remember every detail of that. These men bank the moments that make them feel secure, and they just chuck the ones out that make them feel any sense of accountability because they don't want that, right? Meanwhile, you walk away from every conversation feeling like you want to vomit. You feel off balance, heavy. You never feel closer to him, right? You actually feel guilty for even thinking about leaving. The amount of clients that tell me, I feel guilty at the thought of leaving him. Like this is just, I feel sick, riddled with guilt. And then it paralyzes you. But you start thinking maybe you overreacted or you feel ashamed for even entertaining the idea that the relationship is harming you. You start replaying the conversation. You rewrite your own reality. You minimize everything because you just want the guilt to stop. So much of this also is happening really unconsciously under the surface. And they notice this too. So when reassurance stops working or you might stay neutral, right? He's going to escalate. Then he's cold. This is when he stonewalls or pulls away. He starts making comments like, I don't know, maybe we should just end this then. Or I guess you don't care about me at all. He pushes harder because he needs the emotional reaction. Do remember, they're always trying to get a reaction from you because if he can control your emotions, he can control you. He'd rather see you panic than stay calm. Calm means distance, right? Distance is something that threatens his sense of control. He needs to keep you close and emotional. So if he still doesn't get the reaction he wants, he's going to flip to martyr mode, right? God, the victim-y stuff that they play, it's brutal. He's the one who suffered. He's going to tell you how hard he tried, how much he loves you, how nobody ever chooses him. It's so dramatic, but it's very calculated. But it lands on you because you're empathetic. Breakup attempts bring out the most intense version of all of his lines, right? He's fighting for control. He's not fighting for connection. People confuse those things. Losing you isn't losing love. Losing you is losing the person who manages his emotions for him. And he expects that of you. Let me show you the pattern that he's running, okay? Watch this pattern. He senses you pulling away. He panics internally. He performs woundedness. You know how they love to play the victim. He drops the hook, right? This brings you down. He stabilizes and you feel guilty. And then he feels validated and the cycle repeats itself, right? Rinse and repeat. And through all of this, He never once wonders about how he treats you. That's irrelevant. When he lies or disappears, he's cruel, making jokes at your expense, ignores your pain, shuts you down, whatever. He never questions what that says about his love or respect for you. These questions, interesting, right? They kind of only appear when he wants reassurance, but he still occupies all the emotional space in your head and in your life. 5 minutes before he said those words, let me guess, you were closer to reality. You were closer to leaving. And immediately after, drags you right back into the fantasy. In fact, it strengthens the trauma bond in these tiny moments where you actually trade truth for his comfort. He wants confirmation. And every time you rush in to reassure him, the bond tightens because he gets exactly what he came for. Proof that you're still emotionally available for his needs. This is why leaving feels so impossible for too many women. You're not walking away from a relationship. You're walking away from a literal ecosystem where you've been conditioned to regulate his feelings and calm his ego and reassure him even when you're drowning. And when you stop engaging, he feels so abandoned and he plays that up. If you engage, you feel trapped, but that's the bind, right? It's literally called a double bind. Did you know that? It has a name. I'm all about naming things. And it didn't happen by accident. This man taught you how to respond to him while teaching himself how to control you. And the day that you stop responding the way that he expects is the day that he loses his grip. And that pisses him off. Now, if you want more videos that break down these manipulations so you can stop falling for them, subscribe. And if you're ready to rebuild after abuse or to leave a man just like this, you can book a private session with me. You deserve support. Comment your thoughts and I'll see you in the next video.